The last dragon in the world. One Thursday, one of the last of the dog days, Moomin Troll caught a small dragon in the brown pond to the right of Moomin Papa's hammock tree. Of course he hadn't dreamed of catching a dragon. He had hunted for a few of those small wobbly things that were rowing about in the bottom mud, because he wanted to know how they moved their legs when swimming, and whether they always swam backwards. But when he lifted his glass jar against the light there was something altogether different in it. By my everlasting tail, Moomin Troll whispered, overawed. He held the jar between both paws and could only stare. The dragon was no bigger than a matchbox, and it swam around with graceful strokes of its transparent wings that were as beautiful as the fins of a goldfish. But no goldfish was as splendidly golden as this miniature dragon. It was sparkling like gold, it was knobbly with gold in the sunlight, the small head was emerald green and its eyes were lemon yellow. The 6 golden legs had each a green little paw, and the tail turned green towards the tip. It was a truly wonderful dragon. Moomin Troll screwed the lid on the jar, there were breathing holes, and carefully put it down in the moss. Then he stretched himself out beside the jar and took a closer look. The dragon swam close to the glass wall and opened its small jaws. They were packed with tiny white teeth. It's angry, Moomin Troll thought. It's angry even if it's so very small. What can I do to make it like me? And what does it eat? What do dragons feed on? A little worried and anxious he lifted the jar in his arms and started homewards, cautiously, so as not to make the dragon hurt itself against the glass walls. It was so very small and delicate. I'll keep you and pet you and love you, Moomin Troll whispered. You can sleep on my pillow. When you grow up and start liking me I'll take you for swims in the sea. Asterisk. Moomin Papa was working on his tobacco patch. One could always show him the dragon and ask him about it. Or still, perhaps better not. Not yet. One could keep it a secret for a few days, until it had become used to people. And until one had had the greatest fun of all, showing it to Snufkin. Moomin Troll pressed the jar hard against him and went strolling towards the back door as indifferently as possible. The others were somewhere on the front side by the veranda. At the moment when Moomin Troll slunk up the back steps Little My jumped into view from behind the water barrel and called. What be you got? Nothing, said Moomin Troll. A jar, said Mai, craning her neck. What's in it? Why are you hiding it? Moomin Troll rushed upstairs and into his room. He put the jar on the table. The water was sloshing about, and the dragon had wound his wings around him and curled up into a ball. Now it slowly straightened out and showed its teeth. It won't happen again, Moomin Troll promised. I'm so sorry, dearest. He screwed off the lid, so as to give the dragon a better view, and then he went to the door and put the latch on. You never knew with Mai. When he returned to the dragon it had crawled out of the water and was sitting on the edge of the jar. Moomin Troll cautiously stuck out a paw to fondle it. At this the dragon opened its jaws again and blew out a small cloud of smoke. A red tongue darted out like a flame and vanished again. Ow, said Moomin Troll, because he had burned himself. Not much, but distinctly. He admired the dragon more than ever. You're angry, aren't you? He asked in a low voice. You're terribly wild and cruel and wicked, are you? What? Oh you sweet little goody-goody-goo. The dragon snorted. Moomin Troll crawled under his bed and pulled out his night box. In it were a couple of small pancakes, now a little dried, half a piece of bread and butter and an apple. He cut small pieces from them all and laid the morsels on the table in a circle around the dragon. It sniffed at them, gave him a contemptuous look and suddenly ran surprisingly nimbly to the window, where it attacked a large August fly. The fly stopped humming and started to screech. The dragon already had its small green forepaws around its neck and blew a little smoke in its eyes. And then the small white teeth went snippety-snap, the jaws came open and the August fly disappeared. The dragon swallowed twice, licked its snout, scratched its ear and gave Moomin Troll a scoffing, one-eyed glance. How clever you are, cried Moomin Troll. My little teeny-weeny POO. Just then Moomin Mama beat the lunch gong downstairs. Now wait for me and be good, Moomin Troll said. I'll be back soon. He stood for a moment looking longingly at the dragon, that didn't appear to be cuddly in the least. Then he whispered, little dearie, and ran downstairs and out on the veranda. Even before her spoon had touched her porridge Mai started off. Certain people seem to be hiding secrets in mysterious glass jars. Shut up, said Moomin Troll. One is led to believe, Mai continued, that certain people are keeping leeches or woodlice or why not very large centipedes that multiply 100 times a minute. Mother, Moomin Troll said. You know, I've always wished for some small pet that was attached to me, and if I would ever have one, then it should be, or would. How much wood would a woodlouse chuck? Said Mai and blew bubbles in her milk glass. What? Asked Moomin Papa and looked up from his newspaper. Moomin Troll has found a new animal, Moomin Mama explained. Does it bite? It's so small it can't bite very hard, her son mumbled. And when will it grow up? Asked the Mimble. When can one have a look at it? Does it talk? Moomin Troll was silent. Now all was spoiled again. One ought to have the right to have a secret and to spring it as a surprise. But if you live inside a family you have neither. They know about everything from the start, and nothing's any fun after that. I'm going down to the river after lunch, Moomin Troll said, slowly and contemptuously. Contemptuously as a dragon. Mother, please tell them that they're not to go into my room. I can't answer for the consequences. Good, said Moomin Mama and gave Mai a look, not a living soul may open his door. Moomin Troll finished his porridge in dignified silence. Then he went out, through the garden down to the bridge. Asterisk. Snufkin was sitting before his tent, painting a cork float. Moomin Troll looked at him, and straightway he felt happy over his dragon again. Whew, he said. Families are a cross sometimes. Snufkin grunted in agreement without taking his pipe from his mouth. They sat silent for a while, in male and friendly solidarity. By the way, Moomin Troll suddenly said. Have you ever come across a dragon on your wanderings? You don't mean salamanders, lizards, or crocodiles, apparently, Snufkin replied after a long silence. You mean a dragon? No. Never. They're extinct. But there might be one left, Moomin Troll said slowly, and someone might even catch it in a glass jar someday. Snufkin gave him a sharp look and saw that Moomin Troll was about to burst from delight and suspense. So he replied quite curtly. I don't believe it. Possibly it would be no bigger than a matchbox even if it could spit fire all right, Moomin Troll continued with a yawn. Well, that's pure fantasy, of course, said Snufkin, who knew how surprises are prepared. His friend stared past him and said. A dragon of pure gold with tiny green paws, who'd be devoted to one and follow one everywhere. And then Moomin Troll jumped to his feet and cried, I found it. I found a real dragon of my own. Asterisk. While they walked up to the house, Snufkin went through the whole scale of disbelief, astonishment, and wonder. He was perfect. They went upstairs, opened the door with great caution and went in. The jar of water stood on the table as before, but the dragon had disappeared from it. Moomin Troll looked under the bed, behind the chest of drawers and all over the floor, calling all the while. Little friend, my pretty, my teeny weeny, where are you? Moomin, Snufkin said, it's sitting on the window curtain. So it was, high on the rod near the ceiling. How on earth, cried Moomin Troll in great alarm. He mustn't fall down. Keep quite still. Wait a bit, don't talk. He pulled the bedclothes from his bed and spread them on the floor below the window. Then he took the Hemulin's old butterfly net and reached up towards the dragon. Jump, he whispered. Teeny weeny, don't be afraid, it can't hurt you. You'll frighten it away, said Snufkin. The dragon yawned and hissed. It gave the butterfly net a good bite and started to purr like a small engine. And suddenly it flapped out under the ceiling and began flying around in circles. He's flying, he's flying. Moomin Troll shouted. My dragon's flying. Of course, said Snufkin. Don't jump about so. Keep still. The dragon was hanging quite still in the air. Its wings were a blur, like a moth's. And then suddenly it dived down, bit Moomin Troll in the ear, so he gave a cry and then it flew straight to Snufkin and settled on his shoulder. It edged closer against his ear, closed its eyes and started to purr. What a funny creature, Snufkin said in astonishment. It's all hot and glowing. What does it do? It's liking you, said Moomin Troll. Asterisk. In the afternoon the Snork Maiden came home from visiting Little Mai's grandma and of course was told at once that Moomin Troll had found a dragon. It was sitting on the veranda table beside Snufkin's cup of coffee, licking its paws. It had bitten everybody except Snufkin, and every time it became cross at anything it burned a hole somewhere. What a sweetie pie, said the Snork Maiden. What's its name? Nothing special, Moomin Troll mumbled. It's just a dragon. He let his paw warily crawl across the table until it touched one of the little gilded legs. At once the dragon whirled around, hissed at him and blew a small cloud of smoke. How sweet, the Snork Maiden cried. The dragon ran over to Snufkin's pipe that was lying at the table, and sniffed at the bowl. Where it had sat was a round brown-edged hole in the tablecloth. I wonder if it can burn through oilcloth too, Moomin Mama said. Naturally, said Little Mai. Just wait until it's grown a bit. It'll burn down the house for us. She grabbed a piece of cake, and the dragon rushed at her like a small golden fury and bit her in the paw. You D spider, cried Mai, and slapped at the dragon with her napkin. If you say things like that you'll never go to heaven, the Mimble started instantly, but Moomin Troll cut her short with a cry. It wasn't the dragon's fault. He thought you wanted the fly that was sitting on the cake. You and your dragon, cried Mai, whose paw was really hurting badly. It isn't yours even, it's Snufkin's, because it likes only him. There was a silence. Did I hear the small fry squeak, said Snufkin and rose from the table. A few hours more and it'll know where it belongs. Well. Be off. Fly to master. But the dragon had settled on Snufkin's shoulder again and clung to it with all 6 clawed paws, purring all the while like a sewing machine. Snufkin picked it up between thumb and forefinger and put it under the tea cozy. Then he opened the glass door and went out into the garden. Oh, he'll suffocate, Moomin Troll said and lifted the tea cozy half an inch off the table. The dragon came out like lightning, flew straight to the window and sat there staring after Snufkin, with its paws against the pane. After a little while it began to whine, and its golden color turned to grey from neck to tail. Dragons, Moomin Papa broke the silence, disappeared from public consciousness about 70 years ago. I've looked them up in the encyclopedia. The last to keep alive was the emotional species with strong combustion. They are most stubborn and never change their mind about anything. Thanks for the tea, Moomin Troll said and rose from the table. I'm going upstairs. Darling, shall we leave your dragon here on the veranda? Moomin Mama asked. Or are you taking it along with you? Moomin Troll didn't reply. He went to the door and opened it. There was a flash as the dragon swished past him, and the Snork Maiden cried. Oh. You won't catch it again. Why did you? I hadn't even looked at it properly yet. Go and look for Snufkin, Moomin Troll said between clenched teeth. It will be sitting on his shoulder. My darling, Moomin Mama said sadly. My little troll. Asterisk. Snufkin had barely got his fishing line baited when the dragon came buzzing and settled on his knee. It nearly tied itself into knots from delight at having found him. Well, this is a pretty kettle, Snufkin said and whisked the creature away. Shoo. Be off with you. Go home. But of course he knew it was no use. The dragon would never leave him. And for all he knew it could live 100 years. Snufkin looked a little sadly at the small shining creature that was doing all it could to attract his attention. Yes, you're nice, he said. Yes, it would be fun to have you along. But, don't you see, there's Moomin Troll. The dragon yawned. It flew to his ragged hat brim and curled up to sleep on it. Snufkin sighed and cast his line into the river. His new float bobbed in the current, shining brightly red. He knew that Moomin Troll wouldn't like fishing today. The grog take it all. The hours went by. The little dragon flew off and caught some flies and returned to sleep on the hat. Snufkin got 5 roaches and 1 eel that he let off again because it made such a fuss. Towards evening a boat came down the river. A youngish Hemulin steered. Any luck? He asked. So, Snufkin replied. Going far? Oh, well, said the Hemulin. Throw me your painter, Snufkin said. You might have use for a few fish. Swaddle them in damp newspapers and roast them on the embers. It's not too bad. And what do you want? Asked the Hemulan, who wasn't used to presents. Snufkin laughed and took off his hat with the sleeping dragon. Now listen, he said. Take this with you as far as you are going and leave it in some nice place where there are a lot of flies. Fold up the hat to look like a nest, and put it under a bush or something to make this dragon feel undisturbed. A dragon, is it? The Hemulan asked suspiciously. Does he bite? How often does one have to feed him? Snufkin went into his tent and returned with his old tea kettle. He shoved a tuft of grass down into it and cautiously let the sleeping dragon down after it. Then he placed the lid firmly on and said, You can poke some flies down the nozzle now and then, and pour in a few drops of water sometimes also. Don't mind if the kettle becomes hot. Here you are. After a couple of days you can leave it. That's quite a job for 5 roaches, the Hemulan replied sourly and hauled home his painter. The boat started to glide with the current. Don't forget the hat, Snufkin called over the water. It's very particular about my hat. No, said the Hemulan and disappeared round the bend. He'll burn his fingers sometime, Snufkin thought. Might serve him right. Asterisk. Moomin Troll came after sundown. Hello, Snufkin said. Yippee, Moomin Troll said tonelessly. Caught any fish? So, Snufkin replied. Won't you sit down? Oh, I just happened to pass by, Moomin Troll mumbled. There was a pause. A new kind of silence, troubled and awkward. Finally Moomin Troll asked. Does he shine in the dark? Who? Oh, the dragon. I just thought it might be fun to ask if a creep like that shines in the dark. I really don't know, Snufkin said. You'd better go home and take a look. But I've let him out, Moomin Troll cried. Didn't he come to you? Nope, Snufkin said, lighting his pipe. Dragons, they do as they like. They're pretty flighty you know, and if they see a fat fly somewhere they forget everything else. That's dragons. They're really nothing much. Moomin Troll was silent for quite a while. Then he sat down in the grass and said. Perhaps you're right. Perhaps it was just as well that it went away. Well, yes. I rather think so. Snufkin. That new float of yours. I suppose it looked good in the water. The red one. Not bad, Snufkin said. I'll make you one. Were you planning to fish tomorrow? Of course, Moomin Troll said. Naturally.